The massive space station Nexus Prime floated like a metal city among the stars. Its gleaming towers and spinning sections housed the most important beings in the galaxy. This was where the Galactic Council made decisions that affected billions of lives across 47 different star systems. Jake Morrison pressed his face against the small window of the transport ship New Horizon as they approached the station. He had never seen anything so huge. The engineering marvels of Earth seemed tiny compared to this alien construction. Behind him, his three teammates were equally amazed by the sight. "Look at the size of that thing," whispered Lisa Park, the team's systems expert. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail and her brown eyes were wide with wonder. How do they even build something that big? Ryan Cole, their quantum mechanics specialist, was already taking notes on his tablet. "The gravitational fields alone must require incredible engineering," he said, pushing his glasses up his nose. "I can't wait to see how their artificial gravity systems work." Amy Brooks, the team's xenoarchaeology expert, was reading from a datapad about the station's history. "It took them 300 years to build," she said. "Representatives from every major civilization in the galaxy worked together on it." Jake nodded but felt nervous. Earth had only been part of the galactic community for 15 years. Humans were still considered newcomers, barely advanced enough to travel between stars. Most alien species looked down on them as primitive beings, who had only recently learned to leave their own solar system. The transport ship docked with a soft thud. Jake gathered his equipment bag and followed his team through the airlock. The corridor beyond was enormous, with ceilings so high they disappeared into shadows. Strange beings walked past them, some floating, others moving on multiple legs, a few that seemed to be made of living crystal. A tall, thin alien with blue skin and 4 arms approached them. "You are the humans?" it asked in perfect English, though its voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Assistant Secretary Vel Nash. High Chancellor Vextar is waiting for you." They followed Vel Nash through corridors filled with beings from across the galaxy. Jake noticed how other creatures looked at them with curiosity, amusement, or sometimes obvious disdain. A group of beings that looked like walking trees whispered among themselves and pointed at the humans. Another species, covered in shimmering scales, simply stared at them with large, unblinking eyes. The council chamber was a vast circular room with thousands of seats arranged in tiers. At the center sat High Chancellor Vextar, a member of the Zephyrian race. He was humanoid but taller than any human, with pale silver skin and completely black eyes. His people were known throughout the galaxy for their telepathic abilities and their belief in their own superiority. "So," Vextar said, his voice echoing in the chamber without any visible speaking device, "these are the humans who think they can solve the mystery of the Void Gates." Jake stepped forward, trying to look confident despite feeling very small, in the huge room. "We're here to help, Chancellor. Our species may be young, but we have different ways of looking at problems." A sound like laughter came from somewhere in the chamber, though Jake couldn't tell which alien made it. Vextar raised one long-fingered hand for silence. "Different ways," he repeated. "Yes, I suppose hitting things with rocks is different from our methods." More laughter echoed through the chamber. Jake felt his face grow hot with embarrassment, but he kept his voice steady. "We prefer to think of it as practical problem-solving, sir." An alien that looked like a giant insect clicked its mandibles. "Together." "These creatures have been in space for barely a moment," it said in a buzzing voice. "What could they possibly understand about architect technology?" Amy stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "Sometimes fresh eyes see things that experience ones miss," she said. "On Earth we have a saying, you can't see the forest for the trees." "Trees?" asked a crystalline being whose voice sounded like breaking glass. "What relevance do organisms have to quantum engineering?" "It means that sometimes when you know too much about something, you miss the obvious answers," Lisa explained. "You get so focused on complex solutions that you ignore simple ones." High Chancellor Vextar studied the humans for a long moment. Around the chamber, thousands of alien beings waited for his decision. The Void Gates had been a mystery for over 10,000 years. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy had tried to understand them and failed. The gates were clearly technology, left behind by the ancient race called the architects, but no one had ever managed to make them work. Very well, Vextar said finally. You will be given access to Gate Station Alpha. You have one standard galactic week to examine the gates. When you fail, as every other species has failed, perhaps your people will finally understand their place in the galactic order. Jake nodded. Thank you, Chancellor. We won't let you down. You already have, muttered the insect-like alien. As they left the council chamber, Velnash walked beside them. I hope you understand what you are attempting, he said quietly. The void gates are not just ancient mysteries, they may be our only hope against the Devourers. The Devourers? Ryan asked. Velnash stopped walking and looked around nervously. Creatures from the dark space between galaxies, he whispered. Our long-range sensors have detected them moving toward our galaxy. They consume entire worlds, draining them of all energy and life. The only references to defeating them are in ancient architect texts, and those texts mention the Void Gate network as some kind of defense system. Amy's eyes widened. You mean the gates aren't just transportation devices? We don't know what they are, Velnash admitted. That's the problem. The greatest minds in the galaxy have studied them for millennia. The crystallines, who can process information faster than any organic brain. The ethereals, who can manipulate quantum fields with their thoughts. The Zephyrians with their telepathic abilities and mathematical genius. All have failed. What makes the gate so difficult to understand? Lisa asked. Velnash gestured helplessly with all four arms. Everything about them defies our understanding. The materials they're made from don't exist in our periodic tables. The energy signatures make no sense according to our physics. The control interfaces respond to nothing we try. Some of our scientists believe they operate on principles of science we haven't discovered yet. Jake looked at his teammates. He could see the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. We'd like to see them as soon as possible, he said. Of course, Velnash replied. But I must warn you, failure here will not just embarrass your species. If the Devourers cannot be stopped, every civilization in the galaxy will be destroyed. The pressure you face is enormous. As they boarded another transport to take them to Gate Station Alpha, Jake thought about what they were attempting. Every advanced species in the galaxy had failed to solve this mystery. Beings with telepathic powers, quantum manipulation abilities, and thousands of years of experience had been defeated by these ancient machines. But humans had something different. They had spent their entire history making things work through trial and error, practical experimentation, and refusing to give up when things seemed impossible. They had learned to fly by watching birds, not by understanding the complex mathematics of aerodynamics. They had built computers by starting with simple mechanical calculators, not by waiting to understand quantum theory. Maybe, Jake thought, as the transport carried them toward their destination, being primitive wasn't always a disadvantage. Maybe sometimes the best way to solve an impossible problem was to ignore all the reasons why it was impossible and just try to make it work. The gate station appeared ahead of them, a small research facility built around something that looked like a giant ring made of dark metal and glowing crystals. After 10,000 years of failure, 4 humans were about to take their turn at the galaxy's greatest mystery. Gate Station Alpha was much smaller than Nexus Prime, but it felt far more important. The research facility was built around a single massive structure that took Jake's breath away. The void gate stood 300 feet tall, a perfect circle of dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing with a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Dr. Zeth Karen, the station's chief researcher, met them at the airlock. He was a crystalline, his body made of what looked like living diamond that sparkled with internal light. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind through crystal caves. Another group of hopefuls, he said, his tone clearly showing he had no faith in the humans. I have been studying this gate for 47 years. My predecessors studied it for centuries before me. What makes you think you can succeed where we have failed? Jake looked up at the massive gate. "We don't know if we can," he said honestly, "but we'd like to try." Dr. Zethkaran led them through the research facility. The walls were covered with complex diagrams, mathematical equations that hurt Jake's eyes to look at, and screens showing energy readings that made no sense to him. Dozens of alien scientists worked at strange machines, their faces showing the frustration of decades of failure. "Observe," Dr. Zethkaran said, stopping before a wall covered in symbols. "These are the architect glyphs found on the gate. We have identified over 3,000 unique symbols. Our best linguists believe they represent a mathematical language more advanced than anything in our current understanding." Amy stepped closer to the wall, studying the symbols carefully. "Have you tried treating them as engineering diagrams instead of mathematics?" she asked. "Engineering diagrams?" Dr. Zethkaran's crystalline body flashed with what might have been amusement. "These symbols represent concepts beyond your primitive understanding. We have quantum computers that can process information at speeds your mind cannot comprehend, and even they cannot decode these patterns." Lisa was looking at a different wall covered with energy readings. "What kind of power source does the gate use?" she asked. "That is one of the mysteries," replied Dr. Zethkaran. "The gate generates its own energy, but we cannot determine how. The readings suggest it draws power from somewhere else, perhaps another dimension or a source we have not discovered." Ryan was examining a control panel covered in crystal interfaces. "How do you normally try to activate alien technology?" he asked. "We use psionic amplifiers to interface directly with the machine's consciousness," Dr. Zethkaran explained. "We project quantum fields that should resonate with the gate's operating frequency. We have tried every form of energy known to science: electromagnetic, gravitational, strong nuclear, weak nuclear, and even exotic matter interactions." Jake nodded, but he was thinking about something else. "Can we get closer to the gate itself?" Dr. Zethkaran led them to the observation deck that surrounded the massive structure. Up close, Jake could see that the gate wasn't just a simple ring. It was incredibly complex, with layers of metal and crystal woven together in patterns that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. "The material is unlike anything in our databases," Dr. Zethkaran said. "It appears to be a metal crystal hybrid that exists in a state of quantum superposition. Touching it is safe, but scanning it produces different results every time." Amy was studying the symbols on the gate's surface. "These don't look like mathematical equations to me," she said. "They look more like blueprints." "Blueprints for what?" Dr. Zethkaran asked. "I'm not sure yet." Amy took out her tablet and started taking pictures of the symbols. But on Earth, when ancient people wanted to show others how to build something, they drew pictures, simple pictures that anyone could understand. Lisa was looking at the energy readings on her handheld scanner. "This is strange," she said. "The power signature looks familiar." "Familiar how?" Ryan asked. "It reminds me of the fusion reactors we use on Earth," Lisa said. "The energy pattern is similar, just much larger." Dr. Zethkaran made a sound like breaking glass. "Impossible. This technology is millions of years old. It cannot be based on something as primitive as fusion reactions." But Jake was starting to get an idea. "What if it's not millions of years more advanced than us?" he said. "What if the architects were just engineers?" "Just engineers?" Dr. Zethkaran repeated. "They built technology that spans the galaxy." "So, did we?" Jake said. "We built the internet, and that spans our entire planet. We built satellite networks and space stations. We're not magic. We're just good at building things that work." Amy was getting excited. "Jake's right. Look at these symbols again. This one here looks like a circuit diagram, and this one looks like a flow chart showing how energy moves through a system." Ryan was examining the control panel more carefully. "These crystal interfaces," he said. "They're not responding to psychic energy or quantum fields. But what if they're looking for something simpler?" "Like what?" Dr. Zethkaran asked. "Like electricity," Ryan said. "Basic electrical current." Dr. Zethkaran's crystalline body flashed with what was clearly irritation. "We have tried electrical current. We have tried every form of energy input possible. But have you tried it the way humans would? Lisa asked. Not with your advanced alien technology, but with simple, basic electrical signals. Jake was already pulling equipment from his bag. Lisa, do you have that universal adapter cable? The one that connects to anything? Lisa asked, pulling out a tangled mass of wires and connectors. Yeah, but it's just basic Earth technology. That's exactly what we need, Jake said. Dr. Zethkaran watched in amazement as Jake connected his simple human tablet to the gate's control interface, using Lisa's improvised cable. The connection looked crude compared to the sophisticated alien equipment surrounding them, but it was solid. This is ridiculous, Dr. Zethkaran said. You cannot interface with architect technology using primitive electronics. But as Jake powered up his tablet, something happened that no one expected. The gate began to hum. It was a deep, low sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The blue lights on its surface began to pulse faster. What did you do? Dr. Zethkaran demanded. Jake looked at his tablet screen. I'm not sure. The gate is responding to basic electrical signals. It's like it was waiting for someone to just plug it in. Amy was taking more pictures of the symbols, which were now glowing brighter. I was right. These are engineering diagrams. This symbol here shows how electrical current flows through the gate systems. And this one shows the startup sequence. Ryan was monitoring the energy readings. The gate is drawing power from our tablet, he said. But it's also generating its own power now. The fusion signature is getting stronger. Lisa was working on her own tablet, trying to understand the data flowing between the human device and the alien gate. It's like the gate is downloading our entire technical database, she said. But it's also uploading something to us. Dr. Zethkaran could not believe what he was seeing. This is impossible. We have tried for centuries to communicate with this gate. How are you succeeding with such primitive technology? Maybe that's the point, Jake said. Maybe the architects weren't trying to build something so advanced that only super-intelligent beings could use it. Maybe they were trying to build something that any engineer could understand. The gate's humming grew louder, and suddenly the empty space in the center of the ring began to shimmer. For just a moment, Jake could see through it to somewhere else entirely. Another gate, on another world, surrounded by different stars. Then, the connection cut out, and the gate went quiet again. Dr. Zethkaran stood in stunned silence. Around them, alien scientists were running between instruments, checking readings, and talking excitedly in dozens of different languages. You did it, Dr. Zethkaran whispered. In less than an hour, you accomplished what we could not do in 10,000 years. Jake looked at his teammates, all of them smiling with excitement and disbelief. We just treated it like a machine instead of a mystery, he said. Sometimes the simplest answer is the right one. But even as they celebrated their success, Jake knew this was only the beginning. They had activated one gate for a few seconds. Now they needed to figure out how to use the entire network, and they needed to do it before the Devourers arrived. The news spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within hours of the gate activation, every major news network was broadcasting the story. 4 humans from a primitive planet had done what the greatest minds in the galaxy could not accomplish in 10,000 years. Jake and his team worked through the night at Gate Station Alpha, trying to understand what they had discovered. The gate responded to their simple electrical signals, but there was much more to learn. Every time they connected their equipment, new information flowed between their computers and the ancient machine. Dr. Zethkaran had completely changed his attitude toward the humans. He worked alongside them now, his crystalline body flickering with excitement as they made discovery after discovery. The gate is not just a transportation device, Amy said, reading from her tablet. According to these files, it's part of something much bigger. A network that covers the entire galaxy. Lisa was mapping the connections on her computer. I'm seeing references to over 3,000 gates, she said. They're all connected somehow, like a giant web spanning every star system. Ryan was studying the energy patterns. The network can do more than just transport people, he said. It can send information, redirect energy, even create barriers in space. But their work was interrupted by an angry voice from the station's communication system. "This is General Kethmore of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet," the voice announced. "I demand to speak with the humans immediately." Dr. Zeth Karen activated the communication screen. General Kethmore appeared, a tall Zephyrian with silver skin and black eyes filled with rage. Unlike High Chancellor Vextar, who wore robes of office, Kethmore was dressed in military armor that gleamed with weapon systems. "You primitive creatures have interfered with galactic security," Kethmore said. "The void gates are too dangerous to be activated by beings who barely understand fire." Jake stepped forward. "General, we're trying to help. The gates might be the only way to stop the Devourers." "The Devourers are a military matter," Kethmore replied. "The Zephyrian Empire has protected this galaxy for millennia. We do not need help from creatures who learned to fly yesterday." Amy looked up from her tablet. "General, with respect, the architect records show that your people tried to fight the Devourers before. You lost." Kethmore's face darkened with anger. "Impossible. Zephyrian military records go back 50,000 years. We have never lost a war." "Maybe because the survivors didn't live to write about it," Lisa said quietly. The communication cut off abruptly. Dr. Zethkaran looked worried. "General Kethmore is not someone you want as an enemy," he said. "The Zephyrian military believes they are the rightful rulers of the galaxy. They see your success as a threat to their authority." Jake was about to respond when alarms began sounding throughout the station. Red lights flashed and an automated voice announced, "Long-range sensors have detected multiple contacts entering the outer rim. All stations prepare for possible hostile contact." Ryan quickly accessed the sensor data on his tablet. "It's not the Devourers," he said. "These signatures are too small, but there are hundreds of them and they're moving fast." Dr. Zethkaran checked his own instruments. "Those are Zephyrian military ships," he said. "A full battle fleet." "Are they coming here?" Amy asked. "No," Dr. Zethkaran replied, his voice filled with concern. "They're heading for the outer colonies, the same colonies that reported strange energy readings last week." Lisa pulled up the galactic map on her computer. "Wait," she said. "Those energy readings, they were near other void gates, weren't they?" Dr. Zethkaran nodded. "Yes. Several colonies reported unusual activity around gate sites. We thought it was just residual energy from your activation here." But Jake was putting the pieces together. What if it wasn't residual energy? What if activating this gate sent some kind of signal through the network? Amy was reading through the architect files again. "Here," she said. "The network has an automatic activation sequence. When one gate comes online, it sends startup signals to other gates in the system." "Which means," Ryan said, understanding immediately, "other gates throughout the galaxy are waking up right now." The implications hit all of them at the same time. If gates were activating everywhere and if General Kethmore thought they were dangerous, he might be sending military forces to destroy them. "We have to stop him," Jake said. "If he destroys the other gates, we'll never understand how the network works." Dr. Zethkaran was already accessing the station's communication systems. "I can contact High Chancellor Vextar," he said. "The Chancellor has authority over the military." But before he could make the call, another alarm sounded. This time the automated voice said, "Emergency broadcast from Colony 7. Devourer scouts have been detected in the system. Immediate evacuation recommended." Everyone in the station stopped what they were doing. Colony 7 was on the galaxy's outer edge, one of the most distant human settlements. If the Devourers had reached there, they were moving faster than anyone expected. Jake looked at his teammates. "How long do we have?" Lisa was calculating on her tablet. "If they're moving at the speeds our sensors detected, the main fleet will reach the core systems in less than 2 months. 2 months to figure out a defense system that's been a mystery for 10,000 years, Ryan said. Amy was still reading the architect files. "There's something else here," she said. "The network wasn't just built to fight the Devourers. It was built to contain them." "Contain them how?" Dr. Zethkaran asked. The gates can create energy barriers around entire star systems, Amy explained, but they need to work together. The more gates that are active, the stronger the barriers become. Jake understood immediately. That's why General Kethmore can't destroy the other gates. We need all of them working together. Dr. Zethkaran finally got through to High Chancellor Vextar. The Chancellor's image appeared on the screen, and he looked extremely worried. Dr. Zethkaran, Vextar said, I assume you are calling about General Kethmore's unauthorized military action. Chancellor, you must stop him, Dr. Zethkaran pleaded. The humans have discovered that the gates work together as a network. Destroying individual gates will cripple the entire system. Vexatar looked at Jake and his team. Is this true, human? Jake nodded. Yes, Chancellor. The architects built the network to create galaxy-wide defenses, but we need time to understand how it works. Time we may not have, Vextar replied. 3 more colonies have reported devourer activity. They are not just scouts anymore. These are harvester ships draining entire planets of energy. Another voice joined the conversation. It was General Kethmore, speaking from his flagship. Chancellor, I have reached the first gate site. The device is clearly malfunctioning. It is sending energy pulses into space that could be detected by hostile forces. General, do not destroy that gate, Vextar ordered. The humans believe it is part of our defense against the devourers. The humans are primitives who understand nothing about galactic security, Kethmore replied. I am destroying the gate for the safety of the galaxy. The communication screen showed an exterior view from Kethmore's ship. Jake could see another, void gate, identical to the one at Gate Station Alpha, standing on the surface of a barren moon. Zephyrian warships surrounded it, their weapons charging. General, that is a direct order, Vextar said. Stand down immediately. But Kethmore had already made his decision. The Zephyrian Empire has protected this galaxy for 50,000 years, he said. We will not be stopped by primitive humans and their ancient toys. The warships fired. Energy. Beams struck the gate from multiple directions, and for a moment it seemed like nothing happened. Then the gate began to crack. The ancient metal and crystal structure split apart, its glow fading as the pieces fell to the moon's surface. At Gate Station Alpha, their gate immediately responded. The humming stopped, and several of the glowing symbols went dark. He's damaged. The network, Lisa said, checking her readings. We've lost connection to that entire sector. Amy was reading new information flowing from the gate. The architect files are updating, she said. The network is trying to compensate for the lost gate, but it's straining the remaining connections. Jake felt a cold fear growing in his stomach. How many gates can the network lose before it stops working entirely? Dr. Zethkaran checked. His instruments. Unknown. But if General Kethmore continues destroying gates, we may find out very soon. On the communication screen, they could see Kethmore's fleet moving toward the next gate site. The general was determined to destroy what he saw as a threat, not understanding that he was eliminating their best hope of survival. Jake looked at his team. They had solved the galaxy's oldest mystery, but now they faced an even bigger challenge. They had to save the network from both the approaching devourers and the galaxy's own protectors. The reports came in one after another, each worse than the last. Colony 7 was gone completely, its star dimmed to nothing more than a cold rock floating in space. Colony 12 had gone silent after sending a desperate message about massive ships that looked like living metal. The frontier settlements that had taken humans and other species decades to build were disappearing faster than anyone could count. Jake worked frantically at the control interface, trying to bring more gates online before General Kethmore could destroy them. His hands moved quickly across his tablet, sending activation signals through the network to gates throughout the galaxy. Each successful connection felt like a small victory, but each destroyed gate felt like losing a piece of their only hope. I've got 17 more gates active in the middle sectors, Lisa reported from her workstation. But Kethmore's forces have destroyed 6 gates in the outer rim. Amy was deep in the architect files, searching for information about combat protocols. The network was designed to fight the Devourers before, she said. But I'm having trouble understanding how the weapons work. Dr. Zethkaran floated nearby, his crystalline body dim with worry. Perhaps the weapons are too advanced for current understanding, he suggested. No, Ryan said firmly. We've learned that the architects built everything to be simple and practical. The weapons must work the same way. Jake paused in his work as a new idea occurred to him. What if the gates don't just create barriers? He said. What if they can focus energy like a lens focuses light? Amy looked up from her reading. That's it, she said excitedly. The combat files show the gates working together to collect energy from stars and focus it into beams. Like a giant laser? Lisa asked. Exactly like a giant laser, Amy confirmed, but powered by actual stars instead of small energy sources. Dr. Zethkaran's body flickered with new light. That would explain the energy patterns we detected. The gates can tap directly into stellar fusion reactions. But their conversation was interrupted by an emergency signal from Gate Station Alpha's sensors. Jake looked at the readings and felt his heart sink. Something big is coming, he said, and it's coming fast. The main viewer showed a section of space near the outer rim. At first there was nothing visible except stars. Then something moved between the stars, something so large it blocked out entire solar systems as it passed. By the ancestors, Dr. Zethkaran whispered. What is that thing? The object was bigger than any ship anyone had ever imagined. It stretched for thousands of miles, its surface covered in what looked like mechanical tendrils that reached out toward nearby planets. As they watched, the tendrils touched a small moon, and within minutes the entire moon crumbled to dust. It's a Devourer mothership, Amy said, reading from the architect files. The files call them world eaters. They're not just ships, they're entire civilizations that turn themselves into living machines. Ryan was tracking the monster's movement. It's heading straight for the colony worlds, he said. At its current speed, it will reach the inhabited systems in 3 days. 3 days, Jake repeated. Can we get the weapon system online in 3 days? Lisa was working on her calculations. We need at least 50 gates working together to generate enough power, she said. Right now we have 37 active gates, and Kethmore is still destroying them faster than we can activate new ones. Another communication came through from High Chancellor Vextar. The Chancellor looked exhausted, his normally calm expression replaced by obvious fear. The Devourer fleet has reached our outer defenses, Vextar reported. We lost contact with the entire Kepler defense platform. General Kethmore's forces engaged the enemy but were forced to retreat after losing half their ships. Where is General Kethmore now? Jake asked. Unknown, Vextar replied. His last transmission came from near Gate Site 47. He was still insisting that the gates were dangerous and needed to be destroyed. Dr. Zethkaran checked his star charts. Gate Site 47 is only 6 light-years from here, he said, if the Devourers followed Kethamore's retreat. He didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood. The World Eater was coming directly toward Gate Station Alpha. Jake made a decision. We need to test the weapon system now, he said, even if we don't have all 50 gates online. That's extremely dangerous, Dr. Zethkaran warned. If we miscalculate the energy focus, we could destroy entire star systems. If we don't try, the Devourers will destroy them anyway, Jake replied. Amy found the weapon control protocols in the architect files. The system requires precise coordination between all active gates, she explained. They have to focus their energy beams at exactly the same point in space. Ryan started running calculations on his tablet. I can program the targeting system, he said, but we need something to target first. Their answer came sooner than expected. Gate Station Alpha's long-range sensors detected a smaller Devourer ship approaching their position. It was only the size of a large asteroid, but even small Devourers could drain entire planets. There's our test target, Jake said. Lisa, can you coordinate with all the active gates? I'm trying, Lisa replied, her fingers flying over her tablet. But some of the gates are responding slowly. The network is still damaged from the ones Kethmore destroyed. The Devourer scout ship was getting closer. On the main viewer, they could see it clearly now. It looked like a twisted combination of metal and flesh, with long tentacles that reached out in all directions. Energy crackled between the tentacles as the creature searched for sources of power to consume. "It's detected us," Dr. Zethkaran announced. "The creature is accelerating toward the station." Jake looked at his teammates. "Ready or not, we have to try this now." Amy activated the combat protocol she had found in the architect files. Throughout the galaxy, 37 void gates began to hum with new energy. Stars flickered as the gates drew power directly from fusion reactions light years away. Lisa coordinated the targeting, sending precise location data to each gate. "All gates are locked onto the target," she reported. Ryan monitored the energy buildup. "Power levels are increasing rapidly," he said. "But I don't know if 37 gates are enough." "They have to be," Jake said, and activated the firing sequence. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself seemed to bend around the Devourer scout ship. Beams of pure energy, invisible to normal sight but clear on their instruments, converged from 37 different directions. Where the beams met, reality seemed to tear apart. The Devourer scout ship simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not broken apart, but completely erased from existence as if it had never been there. "Impossible," Dr. Zethkaran breathed. "We completely annihilated it." But their celebration was cut short by new alarms. The weapon test had been detected by something much larger. "The World Eater has changed course," Ryan reported. "It's coming directly for us now." On the main viewer, they could see the massive Devourer mothership turning toward their position. Its countless tentacles writhed with anger, and energy discharges flickered across its surface like lightning. "How long until it reaches us?" Jake asked. "At its current speed," Lisa calculated, "approximately 6 hours." Amy was reading new information from the architect files. "The weapon system worked, but it used too much energy," she said. "Half our gates have gone offline to recharge." Q felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. They had proven the gates could be used as weapons, but they had also attracted the attention of something that could destroy entire worlds. Now they had 6 hours to figure out how to kill a World Eater with a weapon system that needed time to recharge. "Can we activate more gates?" he asked. "I'm trying," Lisa replied. "But the network is still damaged. Some gates aren't responding at all." Dr. Zethkaran was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. "General Kethmore's fleet is requesting permission to return to defend the core worlds," he reported. Jake had an idea. "Can you contact him directly?" "Why would you want to speak with the being who has been destroying our only defense?" Dr. Zethkaran asked. "Because," Jake said, "we're going to need every ship we can get. And maybe it's time for General Kethmore to see what we're really fighting." The communication screen crackled to life, showing General Kethmore's scarred face. His silver skin was marked with burns, and his military armor was damaged from battle. Behind him, Jake could see the chaos of a damaged ship's bridge. "What do you want, Primitive?" Kethmore demanded. "I have no time for games. My fleet is in retreat from an enemy beyond your comprehension." "We know about the World Eater," Jake said calmly. "We've been watching it approach. We also know that conventional weapons can't stop it." Kethmore's black eyes narrowed. "Nothing can stop it. We hit it with enough firepower to destroy a moon, and it didn't even slow down." "The void gates can stop it," Amy said, stepping into view of the camera. "We just destroyed one of its scout ships using the gate network." "Impossible," Kethmore replied. "Those ancient devices are broken toys." Dr. Zethkaran activated a recording of the Devourer scout's destruction. The footage showed the energy beams converging and the complete annihilation of the enemy ship. Kethmore watched in stunned silence. "By the ancestors," he whispered. "How did you do that?" "The same way we activated the gates in the first place," Jake explained. "We treated them like machines instead of mysteries. But we need your help." "My help?" Kethmore laughed bitterly. "You are asking the being who has been destroying your precious gates?" "We need every gate working together to stop the World Eater," Lisa said. "Right now we only have enough power to destroy small ships. To kill something that size, we need all the gates you haven't destroyed yet. Kethmore was quiet for a long moment. On his ship's screens, they could see damage reports scrolling past. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed by an enemy that seemed unstoppable. "How many gates do you need?" he asked finally. "All of them," Ryan said. "Every single gate in the galaxy working together. That's over 3,000 gates," Kethmore said. "Many are on worlds that have been evacuated. Others are in systems too dangerous to reach." "Then we work with what we have," Jake said. "General, you know this galaxy better than we do. You know where every gate is located. Help us activate them." Dr. Zethkaran was monitoring the approaching World Eater. "We have 4 hours before it reaches weapons range," he announced. Kethmore made his decision. "Very well. I will provide you with complete gate locations and military support. But if this fails, we are all dead." The next 3 hours were the most intense of Jake's life. Working with Kethmore's military resources, they sent activation signals to gates throughout the galaxy. Lisa coordinated with alien computer systems she had never seen before. Ryan programmed targeting solutions for weapons that operated on principles barely understood by galactic science. Amy translated architect combat files while Dr. Zethkaran managed power distribution across 3,000 ancient machines. One by one, the gates came online. Each activation sent more power through the network, but also put more strain on the system. Several gates overloaded and shut down permanently. Others responded slowly, their ancient systems struggling after millennia of dormancy. "We have 2,400 gates active," Lisa reported. "That's 80% of the network." "Is it enough?" Jake asked. Amy checked the architect files. According to these records, the architects never faced a World Eater this large, but the files suggest that 2,000 gates should be sufficient. "Should be?" Kethmore's voice crackled over the communication system. "You are betting the survival of the galaxy on should be?" "Sometimes that's all engineers have to work with," Jake replied. The World Eater was now visible on the main screen, without magnification. It stretched across space like a mechanical cancer, its countless tentacles reaching toward Gate Station Alpha. Energy discharges flickered between the tentacles as the creature prepared to feed on the station's power systems. "All gates are locked onto the target," Lisa announced. Ryan monitored the energy buildup across the galaxy. "Power levels are beyond anything we've ever seen. The gates are drawing energy from over 500 stars simultaneously." Dr. Zethkaran watched his instruments with growing concern. "The strain on the network is enormous. Several gate sites are reporting system failures." "If we don't fire now, we might lose our chance," Amy warned. Jake looked at his teammates, then at the image of the approaching World Eater. This was it. Everything they had worked for, everything the galaxy depended on, came down to this moment. "Fire," he said. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Space itself seemed to scream as energy from 2,400 gates converged on the World Eater. The beams were invisible to normal sight, but their instruments showed rivers of pure energy flowing across the galaxy, all focusing on a single point in space. Where the beams met the World Eater, reality broke apart. The creature's massive form began to dissolve, its mechanical components separating into component atoms. But the World Eater fought back. Its tentacles lashed out, sending counterattacks toward the nearest gate sites. Several gates exploded. Under the assault, their destruction sending feedback through the entire network. "We're losing gates," Lisa shouted over the alarms. "The creature is targeting our power sources." "Increase power to maximum," Jake ordered. "We're already at maximum," Ryan replied. "If we push harder, we'll destroy the entire network." The World Eater was dissolving, but slowly. Too slowly. For every section that disintegrated, its remaining parts seemed to grow stronger, as if the creature was concentrating its essence into a smaller, more dangerous form. General Kethmore's voice cut through the chaos. "My remaining ships are in position. We cannot destroy that thing with conventional weapons, but perhaps we can distract it." "General, don't," Jake warned. "It will destroy your fleet." "Better to die fighting than hiding," Kethmore replied. The Zephyrian ships moved toward the world eater, their weapons firing constantly. The energy blasts had no effect on the creature itself, but they drew its attention. Several tentacles turned away from the gates to swat at the attacking ships like insects. The distraction worked. With the World Eater's counterattacks reduced, the gate network could focus all its power on destruction. The creature's form collapsed faster, its mechanical body breaking apart into streams of dissolving matter. But the final moment came with a price. As the World Eater died, it released all the energy it had consumed from hundreds of worlds. The explosion was visible from several star systems away, and the shockwave damaged dozens of nearby gates. When the energy cleared, the World Eater was gone. In its place was only empty space and the scattered remains of some of Kethmore's ships. "Is it over?" Dr. Zethkaren asked quietly. Amy checked the long-range sensors. "The other Devourer ships are retreating," she reported. "They're moving back, toward the galaxy's edge." Lisa was coordinating with gates throughout the galaxy. "The network is damaged but functional. We still have over 1,800 gates active." Jake slumped in his chair, exhausted. They had done it. The galaxy's oldest mystery had not only been solved, but used to save every living being in 47 star systems. General Kethmore's scarred face appeared on the communication screen again. "I owe you an apology, humans," he said. "And my gratitude. The Zephyrian Empire has always prided itself on protecting the galaxy, but today it was saved by beings we considered primitive." High Chancellor Vextar joined the communication from Nexus Prime. "The Galactic Council has made a decision," he announced. "Humanity will be granted full membership in the Council, with authority over the Void Gate network. Jake Morrison, you are hereby appointed as the first guardian of the gates." Jake looked at his teammates. Lisa was smiling as she continued coordinating with gates across the galaxy. Ryan was already working on plans to repair the damaged network. Amy was deep in architect files, searching for information about other, ancient defenses that might be useful. "We accept," Jake said. "But we'll need help. This network is too important to be managed by just one species." Dr. Zethkaran's crystalline body flickered with something that might have been amusement. "I believe I speak for many when I say we would be honored to work under human leadership in this matter." Over the following months, Gate Station Alpha became the headquarters for a new kind of galactic defense. Engineers and scientists from every member species came to learn from the humans who had solved the impossible. The Void Gate network was not just repaired but improved, with new safety systems and better coordination protocols. Jake often stood before the Great Gate, remembering that first moment when they had simply tried plugging a tablet into an ancient machine. Sometimes the most complex problems really did have simple solutions. Sometimes all it took was treating a mystery like a machine that just needed the right kind of engineer to make it work. The galaxy was safe, protected by a network of ancient gates operated by beings who understood that the best technology was the kind that anyone could use when they needed it most.